Fair use. Grief one day at a time. 365 Meditations to Help You Heal After Loss by Alan D. Wolfett, PhD. September 30th. 30 days hath September. A quote from Mother Goose. Each day can feel overlong in grief. When we're in pain and finding no pleasure or meaning in our daily routines, every 24-hour rotation of the earth can seem like a lifetime. And September? September may only have 30 days, an average month, but it's gone on and on and on. Maybe it helps to understand that this slowing down of time is a normal and natural part of grief. It forces us to encounter our thoughts and feelings. It makes our grief inescapable, which can be seen as a good and necessary thing. We need to encounter it. If we feel too restless or in despair during our slow-mo grief days, we can use the time to actively express our grief. Typically, hours fly by when we are pouring out our hearts and souls to a good listener. We can also move our bodies. Long walks, swims, or bike rides not only literally transport us, the endorphins they release also transport our hearts and souls, giving us respite from our relentless pain. The meditation reads, "The slow-mo of my grief serves a purpose. I can surrender to it, or I can use the extra time to actively mourn." October 1st. I myself have often longed for some structure and theory that would compartmentalize or chart my pain, but there is no single story or timetable or passageway through sorrow. A quote from Helen Vozenellik. We've heard of the stages of grief popularized in 1969 by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's landmark text on death and dying. In this book, she lists the 5 stages of grief that she saw terminally ill patients experience in the face of their own impending deaths: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. However, she never intended for her 5 stages to be applied to all grief or to be interpreted as a rigid, linear sequence to be followed by all mourners. The truth is, there is no set structure or single route through grief. There are needs we must all meet, acknowledging the reality of the death, embracing the pain, remembering the person who died, developing a new self-identity, searching for meaning, and accepting help from others. But there is no certain order or timetable in which we must do it. We think what we think. We feel what we feel. It takes as long as it takes. The meditation reads, "I have the right to my unique grief and mourning. On this journey, only I can be the guide. I will meet my mourning needs in ways that work for me, and I will try to be patient and gentle with myself." October 2nd. I am so glad I live in a world where there are Octobers. A quote from L. M. Montgomery. Fall is my favorite season, but sometimes I'm so caught up in my grief or in the busyness of my life that I neglect to slow down and appreciate the kaleidoscope of leaves and the crispness in the air. It's a good reminder for us grievers, even when we're doing the necessary work of going deep inside ourselves and embracing our grief. We can find renewal and refreshment in regular appreciation breaks, no matter the season. If I consciously choose to stop what I'm doing or thinking about and pay attention to the now of my existence, if only for 5 minutes, I am sure to notice something to be glad about. The meditation reads, I am so glad I live in a world where there are so many marvelous experiences. October 3rd, I could have. What does this phrase mean? At any given moment in our lives, there are certain things that could have happened but didn't. The magic moments go unrecognized, and then suddenly the hand of destiny changes everything. A quote from Paulo Coelho. If only. We have so many if onlys now. If only she hadn't. If only I would have. If only there had been. Our regrets and unfulfilled wishes may torment us. It's normal to think about what could have been. With the benefit of hindsight, our minds and hearts can't help but see how things could have been otherwise. When we talk through our feelings and regret out loud in the company of a caring listener, we come to understand the limits of our own culpability. Rarely are we actually at fault. Neither we nor the person who died nor others involved are perfect. As Maya Angelou said, I did then what I knew how to do. Now that I know better, I do better. What's more, in telling the story of our regrets, we grow to understand that much of what happens in life is beyond our control. Our if onlys represent our wish to control. When we surrender to the truth that no human can control life, our if onlys begin to lose their power. The meditation reads, I have if onlys. Whenever they're weighing on my heart and mind, I'll speak them aloud to someone who can listen without dismissing them. October 4th. After her death, I began to see her as she had really been. It was less like losing someone than discovering someone. A quote from Nancy Hale. After those we love die, we are forced to shift our relationship with them from one of presence to one of memory. We slowly grow to understand that our memories, though often painful at first, are our treasures. But remembering our own personal experiences with those who have died is not the only way our understanding of them is shaped. After a death, other people share their memories and assessments with us. We are often hungry for more stories. We learn things we didn't know. We come to new realizations. Our portraits of those who died may shift and change. In this way, we rediscover our loved ones who have died. Sometimes we like our changed perceptions, and sometimes we do not. Either way, the dead often change as we change, which only goes to show that even death is powerless against the universe's constant motion. The meditation reads, as I am rediscovering myself, I am also rediscovering you. October 5th. All sorrows can be born if you put them in a story or tell a story about them. A quote from Isaac Denison. Love is never the same twice, and neither is grief. Each is a one-of-a-kind story, a snowflake in the history of humanity. Part of our grief work now is to tell our stories. We find comfort and support when we surround ourselves with people who will honor our stories of love and loss. Because stories of love and loss take time, patience, and unconditional love, they serve as powerful antidotes to a modern society that is all too often preoccupied with getting us to let go, move on, and get closure. Whether we share our stories with a friend, a family member, a coworker, or a fellow traveler in grief, having others bear witness to the telling of our unique stories is one way to go backward on the pathway to eventually going forward. We heal ourselves as we tell the tale. This is the awesome power of story. The meditation reads, I will find ways to tell my story of love and loss. October 6th. Normal is a relative term. I have yet to meet the normal person. A quote from Ken Harawat. Because I travel the world speaking about grief and mourning, and because I've written many books on the subject, mourners approach me every day with their questions. One of the most common questions I get is some variation on this. I have been experiencing blank. Is that normal? The answer is always yes. Whatever you're thinking, feeling, or experiencing is what's normal for you, given your circumstances. Sometimes losses are abnormally traumatic. However, in these cases, your grief may be more complicated, but it is still a normal response to an abnormally severe psychic injury. If this applies to you, I urge you to get extra support. An experienced grief counselor can offer you the equivalent of an ICU for your traumatic grief. The meditation reads, My grief is normal. I am normal. There is nothing wrong with me or my grief. Please share, subscribe, like, and remember that you are not alone.